Good evening, everybody. My name is Caleb Roberts. I'm the Executive Director of Downwinders at Risk. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. Downwinders at Risk is a 30-year-old clean air environmental justice organization. What we're here to do is first celebrate Black History Month. We're happy to be with you all today. We're happy for Next Gen for allowing us to be here. What you will see is a conversation about a community, a freedmen's town here in Dallas called Joppy. We have some great panelists here to give you more information about things happen right in your backyard. Before we get there, to prep this conversation, we have a short documentary for you called the Toxic Twins documentary that outlines major environmental justice fights happening in Dallas. One in West Dallas and another in Joppy, and you will see that here today. Then we'll be right back with you to have a great conversation with our wonderful panelists. So hope you enjoy.
Do you see those clouds moving? Mm-hmm. Gas.
So likely like steam or?
That's not steam. That's gas. And that's a giant plume of hydrocarbon gases, uncombusted methane, volatile organic compounds, and particulate matter going out into the community. And where it's coming from is a stack right here, right there. That's where it's coming from.
Here's my neighborhood. It's small. In 2021, with GAF operating in this neighborhood, we were in the top 10% of the nation's most toxic communities. We're overburdened with pollution. That's why it's environmental injustice.
Heavy industry located next to neighborhoods is not an accident.
Racial friction in Dallas in the last decade has been caused by a critical housing shortage. That adequate housing for Negroes was the essential key to the solution of the racial problem. Contracts have been let for the immediate building for a housing project in West Dallas, 3,500 units, 1,500 of which will be for Negro occupancy.
It was clear when the city decided to place the public housing there that it was going to be racially segregated. There was going to be a white project, there was going to be a black project, and there was going to be an Hispanic project.
They decided to put the 3,500 units of public housing into what was then unannexed West Dallas and downwind of the RSR lead smelter. And the lead smelter was not the only industry out there. There was hundreds of existing industries in this unpoliced and unregulated part of Dallas.
For many residents of West Dallas, Singleton Boulevard symbolizes their frustration with City Hall. For the residents of this community, Singleton has seemed to be in a state of constant disrepair, with the city forever trying to patch it. And many people here trace that problem and others, like high crime, to a lack of representation on the city council.
Because you're in the ghetto, you look down as being, the worst is rat, rat. Why you just put the rat to the side? But people in the ghetto have feelings just like all over the world.
Think the city cares about people who live in West Dallas?
No. We're just low project, low, common people.
One of the oldest and most controversial industries in the neighborhood has been the 63-acre Murph Metal secondary lead smelter, called RSR. It went into business in 1934 and is located near the Thomas Edison School and a 3,500-unit public housing project. RSR pumped more than 269 tons of lead particles into the West Dallas air.
I couldn't believe it. We worked all our life for this house, and now that it's full of chemicals.
I don't know of any company that's doing more to protect the environment with a hazardous substance than the lead companies. And it's regrettable that these things are being made so public and making these people into villains, which they're not.
The main purpose of zoning is to separate uses that are harmful, like industrial zoning, from where people live, okay? And that basic premise has been violated over and over again in the city of Dallas, not just from the beginning of when it was segregated, but it has been maintained over the years. And that protection for neighborhoods of color is just completely missing.
Environmentalists working with the citizens fear old lead is not the only reason a blanket of dust covers much of this neighborhood where homes and factories sit side by side.
Why in 2024 is asphalt the new lead? Well, there are two 80-year-old asphalt shingle factories currently operating in black and brown residential neighborhoods. The particulate matter air pollution that they release has many of the same health harms as lead.
Historically, as more and more science was uncovered about the negative health effects, the lead level kept going lower and lower and lower until, scientists really said there's no safe level. And so we're seeing that also for PM, which often can contain various toxic particles. And it's important to remember that PM is regulated by size currently, not necessarily source.
In the 1950s, Joppy was annexed by the city of Dallas. So when you have people who own industry who then are in an area that's been redlined, you end up having this. And then when people who live in Joppy complain about it, the first thing their city council person will say, well, we can't do anything about it because it's zoned for it. And redlining got it started right here, ironically, in Dallas, Texas.
So this is on a Sunday evening, how the emissions look like.
Short-term exposure to PM can continue to exacerbate asthma and COPD. Now, chronic exposure, over years does lead to reductions in life expectancy.
It wouldn't happen if you were in other neighborhoods. I work a lot up north, and it doesn't happen there. It's just crazy, that anyone would have to go through, that families would have to go through something like this. So how do I feel? It's very irritating. Is there anything I can do about it? Yes, we're doing it now. We're speaking up.
Family, we have found out we are the 11th polluted community in the United States of America. The 11th polluted community in the United States in America. When I say justice, you say Joppy. Justice! Justice!
Joppy is a state of mind. It was created for us, by us. But the only people that are suffering is us. And this is what we've been doing here in Joppy for the last 150 years, fighting for this, and we're still fighting for this. But now what we're running from now is not slave masters, but we're running from pollution.
3 of my uncles, so all of my mom's brothers are gone from cancer. My grandmother is gone from cancer, and it's emotional for me. But, to know that these pollutants could very well be the cause of it. All of them came up in Joppy. All of them die of a form of cancer.
If you are to see changes related to zoning, related to emissions, you can have near immediate improvements in health and improvements in quality of life.
TAMCO and GAF are the Tweedledee and Tweedledum, both ancient industrial polluters operating factories that are poisoning the residents they claim to be a good neighbor to. Both are owned by wealthy white families who are based outside of Dallas. And this is why we're calling them the toxic twins of Dallas. They're the worst examples of environmental racism in the city.
When you look at the pollution within 1 mile of GAF, it makes us in the top 10% of the nation's most toxic communities. At first I thought, well, we gotta tell people because people may not know. But then to learn that people knew and didn't really take swift action, that's very disturbing. I was in disbelief, the same way a lot of people in this neighborhood are in disbelief. We were named a Superfund site. We were on the EPA's national priorities list, and yet you continued to put a batch plant behind a middle school in 2015. You continued to allow GAF to operate. How does that even make any sense? Like, what does that say about what you think about this community? It's disgusting.
Y'all going through that way? Y'all getting paid for this? We know y'all getting paid. They done already said yeah.
Be nice, damn it. Be nice.
If everyone will take their seat. Okay. Today is October 24th, 2024, and this is a public meeting concerning Building Materials Investment Corporation, application for an air quality permit renewal, permit number 7711A.
GAF operates in compliance with its air permit and all relative state, federal, and local regulations and state and federal emissions levels. GAF is legally designated as a high compliance company, the highest compliance category achievable by regulation, and that's been done by the TCEQ over the decades. With the renewal of this permit, we intend to uphold that track record of safety and environmental compliance. In 2022, GF announced that they would voluntarily close the Dallas plant, and we are on track to do just that. Even though the facility was in compliance, since announcing our decision to close the facility, GF has also taken voluntary steps to reduce and/or limit emissions from our West Dallas facility. In 1945, when the plant was built over 80 years ago, there was a vacant field around the plant. There was no residential homes of any sort. There are...
That is not true.
Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate your participation, but this is going to be an orderly meeting. So when they respond, let me clarify.
We're sick out here. We're suffering. Kids asthma. Kids dying. I mean, what more do we have to smell to get? I mean, y'all saying that it's not harming us, but it's harming us. We got so much cancer in West Dallas. You said that there were no houses out here in 45. Yes, it was. Bonnie and Clyde.
Okay.
A lot of houses. So
Okay.
I already know.
So,
but I'm saying, what do we have to do to stop?
Somebody mentioned something about our union members being paid to be here. Our union contract dictates how we get paid. So we get paid by being here because of our contract, not because the company's paying us to be here. We're also here because that's our livelihood down the street, right? And I do appreciate some of you guys actually having concern for our well-being. I appreciate that.
I think it's really terrible that GAF is trying to pit the workers against the residents, because there are a lot of residents that
let her speak, please. Her time is ticking.
We have met residents who have lived in West Dallas for decades, who have lost loved ones who were workers at GAF, who died of mysterious cancers or respiratory illnesses that they tried to work with the company to seek medical treatment and were denied. And so to pit the workers against the residents is really tragic and unnecessary, because a message to the workers: we are on your side. We believe we'd like to work with your union. We want to make sure that at the future facility in Kansas, it's union workers. There's no guarantee. The company's not made sure that that's a practice. You heard them. They said, we'll do everything that we can. When has management done everything that they can? I feel like that's probably universally felt. So I'm here to speak in opposition to the renewal of this air permit due to the impact on public health and safety. And so while we are not paid to be here, the residents are not paid to be here, they are too sick to be here. And you received dozens of comments online saying this. And so it's useless pleading to the TCEQ, because I've lived in Texas long enough to know that it's a rubber stamp deal. And I've had enough conversations with GAF and their press people to know that they lie and that their comments are empty gestures, and they will continue to do the bare minimum for their workers and for the residents that live here. So to the union, we stand with you. We'd like to work with you. GAF's got to go before 2029.
I think sometimes people take advantage of the fact that this is a resilient community. I don't know how many more ways how I can show people that we are hurting out here. We need help. We want us to live as long as we possibly can and not have the fact that we live in 75212 dictate when we die. Emissions everywhere. Like, oh wait, I didn't sing them on here. This is what's happening Friday night in West Dallas. This is what the community is breathing every day. This is what the city of Dallas, the mayor, TCEQ, everyone in all levels of government knows is happening in our community, and they do nothing about it. GAF is still operating. The community continues to tell the city of Dallas, shut GAF down. GAF has got to go. How many times does this community need to tell you this? Look at it for yourself. The community does not deserve this. West Dallas deserves so much better.
All right, so thank y'all for watching that. Again, my name is Caleb Roberts with Downwinders at Risk. What you just saw was a documentary highlighting an issue that we're fighting right now. We're fighting alongside of members of West Dallas from Singleton United and members from JOPI, Justice for JOPI, that you'll meet today. So I'm excited to get into this conversation, but that documentary was important to connect the dots at the fact that segregation did not just end with the Civil Rights Act, did not just end after integration. A lot of the discrimination that was faced back then is still rearing its ugly head in our communities today. And until we address these things, until we address them now, people will continue to suffer. So I'm gonna stop talking and let our main event, our great panelists, tell you more about what's happening specifically in the Freedmen's Town of JOPI. So let me introduce the panelists that will be talking today. So I'm gonna go through, introduce, and then I'm gonna ask you all a question, and we're gonna get started. So right to my left, we have Dr. Ed Gray here, historian, scholar, wrote his dissertation, a lot on some of the work Downwinders did, has a lot of information about JOPI. We're so thankful for him being here today. Yeah, please clap. To his left, we have Alicia Kendrick, who's an organizer with Downwinders at Risk, spent a lot of time in JOPI. I'll let her talk more about her experience, but she's on the front lines for Downwinders in the community, making sure residents are informed of all the things happening throughout the community, out the city, in the region. Then to her left, we have Aggie Chaparro, who's a great leader for a Joppy resident, works with Justice for Joppy, has been doing this for a long time and is getting into the fight about protecting her community. And then at the end, we have Mr. Emmanuel Davis, who's the co-chair of Justice for Joppy. You see him in the video. He's a great spokesperson for the community, but also has the heart and soul of what it means to be a part of Joppy. So these are the great people you're going to be talking to today. My first question for you all, I think we've talked a lot of negativity about what's happening in the community, what's happening everywhere, but I want to know, why is Joppy special to you? Why did you work there? Why did you study it? Why do you live there? So if y'all could take some time and take that question first.
Well, let me go ahead and say thank you again to Next Generation Action Network and also Downwinders at Risk. You guys stand on the forefront and the front line for justice in Dallas when it comes to environmental justice. Fighting environmental racism, that's one of the things I wanted to do when I was writing my dissertation. There's never been anything written in Dallas about zoning and its effects upon the community. We talked earlier in the film, it talked about redlining, and redlining and segregation, that still exists now. The most poisonous community in Texas is within 15 minutes of where we're sitting at right now. So that's what I wanted to bring forward to Dallas, so Dallas could know what we are actually living and what we are actually breathing.
Sure. Thank you.
I believe Joppy is just one of those neighborhoods. When I used to watch movies, people would be like, I know everybody on my street, I know them by name. And I always wanted that when I was younger. And then I moved to Joppy, and actually that was something that happened for me. Like, I can still go to Joppy and call people by their name. And I think it's really important to be in a community like that, where you can see your neighbor and you know your neighbor. And I think that's one of the reasons that makes Joppy great. It's small enough to where you know your neighbor, and it's big enough to where you can walk around and see more.
I haven't been that long in Joppy. I guess this is like, we've been there for 5 years now. And why we love Joppy, or why we moved there, we love the community, our neighbors. We're pretty much close-knit. And we just like the entire environment, as far as like our neighborhood, the neighbors, and I guess the closeness that we've gotten, especially with, I guess at the same time, you know, being in Justice for Joppy and fighting against these polluters has gotten us even closer to getting to know our neighbors whenever we go canvassing and things like that. So that's why I enjoy living there.
Thank you.
First, I want to just thank you for allowing me to be here with you to talk about Joppy. Joppy, for me and my family, was a place of refuge. We found ourselves in need of a community that we could afford to live in, and not only afford to live in, but where the community was involved. And immediately when we got to Joppy, I saw people like Downwinders knocking on doors, trying to bring the community together. And so I felt that I could at least get involved and give that back, because we found refuge there. And in doing that, I found out the history of Joppy, that Joppy wasn't only a refuge for me and my family, but had been a refuge for people, different types of people for generations. So I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. So what we're going to do now, we're not going to go down the line. I'm just going to ask questions, and we're going to have a conversation here. We're going to make this, whatever comes to your spirit. So one of the first things when I hear you all talk, one of the first things I was thinking is, what made you realize that there was a problem in Joppy? What made you think, when did that realization happen? And anyone can answer. When did that, do you have a moment that triggers you, there's a problem that we need to address here in Joppy?
I'll go first. Well, my daughter was very small when we moved back to Joppy. I was pregnant there, we left, and then we moved back when she was about 1. And she kept getting upper respiratory infections, and I could not figure out why, because nothing about her diet had changed, nothing about her lifestyle outside of where we lived had changed. And so the doctors couldn't figure it out either, because, again, nothing had changed other than where we lived. And then I was like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. I feel like I'm stuck here and I don't want my baby to get sick no more. And so going outside, there was an event. It happened to be an event, and we happened to be walking that way. And usually we go to the park, but we went the other way this time, and it just like happened to be like a Breathe Easy event. And so from there, they did an airways test on myself, and they were like, concerned for me. And I'm concerned for her, and they were like, hey, do you need an inhaler? I was like, oh, there's something here. There's something happening here, because why would they be having this when I'm already thinking about why she can't breathe? And so that's when I realized, okay, there's something happening, there's a problem here, and I just wanted to be a part of that solution.
I guess for me, it was more when we just moved there. I came from South Carolina. My parents moved there a year prior. Also, I guess because of their, where they previously used to live, got basically gentrified. So we're in the same boat here. So I guess coming in to Joppy, you can smell all these fumes. And I thought it was because, you know, the train or something like that. I wasn't really informed. Yeah, I knew, you know, Tamco's there. But it was pretty much like, I guess, in the evenings, in the morning. And then after that, it was like, yes, I do get sinuses and all that. But once I started getting it, I would say sinus infections way too frequently. And they wouldn't last like 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It would go on for 4 up to 6 weeks, where I have to be constantly going to the doctor and getting them to prescribe me something for the infection, stuff like that. It's just not a pleasant smell in the mornings, or even coming home from work. You want to get there and you want to, I guess, as soon as you go over the bridge, I would say that's where you smell it the strongest. And anybody that lives in Joppy will agree with me.
Yes. Likewise for me too. It was the smells. When you're coming into the community, you could smell the chemicals coming from the plant. Not only that, the dust and how the trucks that comes in and out of the plants is tracking it on the streets. And if you're going in and out of the community, and I go at the same time basically every day, you're either going down in a cloud or you're coming out of a cloud. And so you just, you know, your mind just tells you there's got to be something harmful going on here. And as I begin to start, you know, being a part of the community, talking to my fellow community members, and hearing some of the stories, because we still have 3rd and 4th generation of families that are staying there, and so they have the record. And as I begin to talk to them and they begin to tell me, you know, what their family has been going through and the fight that they have been in for years and the progress that they have made that turned out to be no progress, I had to get involved. I knew I had to get involved.
Now let me go ahead and piggyback on everything that's been said. I don't live in Joppy, never lived in Joppy, but for those people who don't know where Joppy is at, and they were talking about going over the bridge. I'm going to tell my age a little bit. There was a show on a long time ago called Good Times. So this Good Times visual showed all the factories that were around. That's what Joppy is like. Once you go across the bridge, you go like, where am I at? Because the first thing you see is all of these trucks and all of the dust. You see the railroad tracks, you see the factories, and then you see the community, a community that's just trying to survive. But first thing in the morning time, you smell and you inhale. You smell and inhale, toxic, and it gets into your lungs. We've at SMU, we've taken several tours, and there have been several tours that we've taken that people did not want to get out because they wanted not to smell it. And I said, well, you have to smell it because that's why we're here. We're here to make a change.
And I think that's a great point, Dr. Grader. What you're saying is you can drive past Joppy. If you don't know to look for it, you can miss it because you don't get to Joppy by accident. So I'm gonna start this question for you, Dr. Gray, but you know, everybody feel free to answer. Why is that like that? What situation had to occur to make Joppy the way it is?
Segregation. That it starts off right there. One of the first signs, well, the first sign that you see says the freedmen's community. And that's where it was set up. It was set up as a freedmen's community on the banks of the Trinity River. And as the documentary had stated, when West Dallas was annexed, they also annexed, we're talking about toxic twins, we also have to talk about red line twins as well. So they also annexed Joppy because they did not want to have all of the black people to be moving into South Dallas. It still created a housing shortage.
Right.
So therefore they said, well, we got housing now for you to be in Joppy, so they opened it up. So they gave in at that particular time more city services. And then when that happens, that's when you also happen to have the zoning, and the zoning, they zoned in these companies that have been there for years now.
Right.
I think when we talk about segregation and redlining, I think we also have to talk about how disenfranchisement of a people does not happen overnight. It is a very slow crawl. And so when things like that happen, okay, we're gonna annex you in, but we're gonna put all these industries around you so we can hide you. We're gonna hide you undesirables. First, we're gonna give you the worst land we can give you, the floodplains. Then we're gonna hide you behind all of this industry so you do not come to where we can see you. We don't want to see you. And I think that's how things like that happen, because the city does not want to see what they're doing to people. They don't want to acknowledge, like, okay, we want you to be suffering under these polluters. So I think that's how that happens easily.
Definitely. Another question for you, Aggie and Mr. Davis, is specifically for you all. You know, we hear all this history and we hear all these things. When you brought these things to city council, to other leaders, what was the response that you got when you first started advocating for these things?
Yeesh.
First advocating. I'm new to all this, so it's like pretty much thanks to Downwinders, you know. We didn't know, I would say specifically my family and I, we didn't know where to start.
Yeah.
You know, we didn't know where do we go, who do we go to, because you go to the city and they ignore you, you know. I mean, we're just one little family, you know, and like Mr. Davis said, it's generations living there, you know, great-grandparents, you know, passed it on to great-grandchildren and so forth. So you have great-grandparents, parents, and then grandchildren, you know, these lands, these houses that have been there for generations, you know. We only been there for so little, and maybe the reason why I think they haven't, or they stopped fighting or altogether is because of that, you know, the lack of attention they get, the lack of responsibility the city wants to take for it, you know. We feel invisible. We don't feel seen. We don't feel heard by the city of Dallas. You know, it's pretty much like a David fighting a Goliath type of thing, being there. So, you know, we're reaching out for all the resources that we can take or get, you know, in order to, you know, to fight for our neighborhood, because this is our health.
Yeah.
This is where we live. You know, this is where we invested, you know, not just our life, but our money. You know, we come home from work, and this is where we call, you know, this is where we come and rest.
Definitely.
And unfortunately, we feel, you know, like at the same time, we cannot even breathe fresh air. Like I was telling my parents, probably the only thing that's helping is that vegetation that we have because of the Trinity River.
Yeah.
That's the only thing, you know. That's one of the things that I also like about Joppy, you know, is all the vegetation, all the trees that we have, and then we have a tree. Unfortunately, it's starting to dry out. We water it as much as we can. Well, like, is it affecting our vegetation too, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my stance on it.
And I agree totally with you. It's been a struggle. It's been a fight. The very people who we selected to serve us and to hear out our complaints, they just had been letting us down. I can even give you one good example. You know, we here in Texas, you know, you have the right to sue. You know, and we wanted to sue and get these TAMCO out of our community, and the state held us off, and they came up with a law saying we can't even sue them. We got to pay them to leave. And so here they're standing up for the big business, but they're not listening to us. They're not hearing what we have to say. It's like we're just a nuisance to them instead of what these companies are doing to our city, being a nuisance. Not only that, we have our own council member. We have tried to work with him, try to rectify the situation and see what he could come up with be a better fit for our community. Nothing. Just leading us on. But we're going to fight. We're going to fight to the end.
Definitely. And for you, Alicia, as an organizer, what is maybe the biggest roadblock or the hardest part of getting something that everybody you talk to and understands what's happening, getting it to a solution that's beneficial? What is the hardest part about moving a campaign like this forward for something that people are dealing with?
Well, when you've been in a community for as long as a lot of these people have, like Mr. Davis said, this is an intergenerational organizing that we're doing here. And when you've been in that community so long and you've only seen these companies take and take and take from your community, people coming to your community, smiling and waving, but they're taking and they're taking, it's hard to build that trust with people. And to organize effectively, you need a foundation of trust. And when people have been disenfranchised, they do not trust the system. They do not trust you. Even if you have your hand out and you are showing all your cards, they still do not trust you. And I feel like that is some of the hardest parts, because get past the wall that people build up to solutions. And when you do not have any solutions and you cannot see anything different, your imagination shuts off to what it could be, what it would look like with TAMCO gone. They can't see it because it's like, they trust TAMCO more than they trust us. They're going to do more for TAMCO than they do for us. So why would I go out of my way? Why would I put a target on my back to do this work? And so I think that's the hardest roadblock, is just building the trust of the community, then going forward.
So, Dr. Gray, just in your experience, you talked a lot about zoning and the issues there. Do you think the city has made any type of amends, maybe not in Joppy, but anywhere, on the legacy and history of segregation and discrimination? How do you think the city of Dallas is doing in rectifying those situations?
Slow. That's about the best way to say it, you know. Yeah. We could always look and find things that will prove a point that we have been progressive, because that's what we do as Americans. We wake up every day thinking today's going to be better than yesterday. Right. So that's our makeup. But the reality of it is that sometimes things get worse. They get worse. Looking at the documentary, was talking about GAF has to go. Okay, if they go, then now what? Right. If we're talking about TAMCO has to go, when they go, what then? Because you'll still have a brownfield there. That land will still be contaminated. It's not going to go away just because we've zoned them out of business or the city has said you can't operate there anymore. There has to be some restorative behavior and also restorative legislation to address it. And that's what was said by the people here on the dais as well. They feel ignored. Yeah. Because it's not about feeling, it is about being ignored. Definitely. You are ignored.
Right. And I think that's a great point, because I have maybe even two questions coming out of that. But we'll start with the first one. I think what you talked about is the need for immediate action. I think a lot of times we talk about, well, we'll get to it. The response is slow. Yeah. You know, this question for anybody. Tell me, what do you think, if this takes a long time, what is the threat to Joppy residents? What will happen if no action is taken on the TAMCO and the other industries that surround Joppy? What happens?
people will continue to keep dying. You know, that's what we see that's happening right now. We see children that are being assaulted with these chemicals, and they're growing up not being able to fulfill their live out their full potential because of the pollutants that has fallen upon them. And it's just going to get, it's going to be more and more people that's going to be affected by this. Not only just in Joppy, as I've seen myself, I have stood on the bridge and I have watched the chemicals, the PM, particulate matter, come out of their stacks, and watch how the wind has taken it in all directions. So it's just not affecting Joppy, it's affecting Oak Cliff, it's affecting Old South Dallas. And these individuals that are being affected right now might not see any symptoms, but as we can see right now, we're talking to people in the community, they're being affected 5 and 10 years later.
I think so, the same. I guess at the same time, like I said before, you know, it's generations that have been passed on. And granted, let's say the younger generation, we would love to keep Joppy. And the younger generations are just, I'm thinking they're gonna move out, you know, sell, move out, and look for something better. And what used to be Joppy might, you know, not be there. And that's sad, because it's been there for more than 100 years. It's been there since during the times of slavery. I dare to say, you know, it's a historic mark. And to see that fade away and vanish, I would love to see, you know, something better, you know. I don't want to see Joppy get gentrified either, you know. I want something better for the people for us that live there in Joppy, for the people that been there living so many years, you know, to be able to see that hope, you know, of being able to see Joppy turn into something, you know, better, and see Tamco leave. That would be, I would say that would be a great present for Joppy.
Let me go ahead and add to that as well. Great points. I want to add to that, though. I don't think we have to concern ourselves with Joppy ever being gentrified, because the land around Joppy that consists of Joppy is not something that somebody would want to go ahead and put a Starbucks at. But what we will go ahead and say as well is that we are trying to do good, the city's trying to do good, and charitable organizations are also introducing other people to the pollution. So if we have people that have been there through intergenerational families that have been there, we're now recruiting new people to come in to breathe the contaminated air. So you come across the bridge, you make the turn into Joppy, and the first thing I see is a Habitat for the Humanity building a home for an immigrant that came from Somalia, that did not know anything about Joppy, but yet they will know everything about Joppy's pollution within a year's time. So that's what we're doing. We're introducing new people through good works to a bad situation.
And let me take that point and say, recently we got some news about the biggest polluter, Tamco, sending out flyers to the community, door knockers. Tamco says it's a good neighbor of Joppy residents. That's what they say. We have the information. It says, Tamco says, in fact, they are Joppy's biggest supporter. That's what they said on that paper. How does that make you all feel? What is your response to a company right there saying these things about your community?
Liars.
That feels like a slap in the face.
It does.
Like, yeah, that's lies. Lies. Like, how are you a good neighbor? How are you supporting our neighborhood, you know? Especially, you know, going from door to door, you know, telling the people to support you, to keep you there, to continue contaminating you. I mean, I don't know how they even have the face to even do something like that. It's deceitful.
Definitely.
It makes me very angry, especially knowing how long this community has been fighting this very issue, and to know that they're still on the other side of the tracks, perpetuating that they're for the community. It really not only angered me, but really hurt me, because once again, I feel like the people of Joplin is being assaulted all over again. And now, here it is, I've been there 8 years, and now I'm a part of that. I'm being assaulted. And even if I pack up and leave, someone else is gonna come and be assaulted by our practices here in Texas and Dallas. We know for a fact that companies like TAMCO shouldn't be around communities. We know for a fact. We had our attorney, our Dan Paxton, they were about to build a batch plant up north. Yes. And overnight, somebody made a phone call to him and he put a letter out for the whole state of Texas. No batch plants. But here we are, we have a batch plant in our community and he's allowing it to operate. I am furious. Yes.
I mean, if they want to be a good neighbor, I mean, the best thing they can do is just pretty much say, we're concerned about your health. We're about to move out.
Yeah.
But at the same time, they had a tree planting ceremony a couple of months back. And they gave everybody great green shirts. I believe they're being very green about the pollution. So when you go ahead and you do that, you buy the goodwill of some people that are there. I guess some people 100 years ago would have sold out for a watermelon, but today possibly they'll sell out for a green T-shirt. But this is what we have to do. We have to make sure, whether or not it's watermelon or a green T-shirt, we have to make sure we hold them accountable. And holding people accountable is making sure that a child is 5 years old. How old was your daughter, you say?
She's 5 now.
She's 5. 5 years old, will not have to use an inhaler. That's better than a green T-shirt.
It is.
And then the thing is that on that flyer it said something about, you're going to put, if they leave, there would be 95 jobs,
Local workers.
Local workers, 95 local workers would be out of a job. But I'm like, there's more than 95 people living in Joplin, whose health is being, targeted or
Sure.
Yeah, like it just doesn't make sense.
Well,
actually.
let me just say this before you piggyback. It depends upon how you define local. See, if you live in Joplin, local means Jimmy Ray down the street.
That's what I was going to say.
TAMCO says, well, it's Jimmy Ray who lives in Duncanville. So that's not local. That's not local.
It's very specific language, and I think that's really important when we read the pamphlet that they handed out, what words they're using. 95 local workers, not 95 Joplin residents. We're not trying to move Joplin residents out of their job. We understand what livelihood is and why people need jobs. But when we're talking about jobs versus lives, the conversation shifts a little bit. And they also mentioned about taxpayers' dollars and how Joplin would lose taxpayer dollars. If you go to Joplin right now and you look at the streets, where are the taxpayer dollars at? Where are they at? How are they being put to use? Yeah. And so if TAMCO really is claiming to be a good neighbor, I don't see the goodness in it. I just see a neighbor. I just see you sitting next to a community making millions of dollars. TAMCO is not just in Dallas. TAMCO stands for Texas, Arkansas, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Kansas.
Missouri, something like that.
You're one of them, and Oklahoma. Yeah. So they are all across the nation scattered. But are you a good neighbor to all of those places, or are you just existing in those places? Do you just make money in those spaces? And if you're making money and the community is not seeing it, how are you partnered? Yeah. How are you partnered?
And there's a point just on that. And for anyone in the audience, we're going to have a few more questions. But if you have a question, please be thinking about it. If you're online and have a question, please be thinking about it because we have a few more things to get to. I just want to say one thing before we continue. Industry in the 50s, 60s, and 70s is much different than industry today. This is a different industry than your dad taking his metal lunch pail, walking from home down the street to to one of these facilities where there was at least a trade-off between the community getting jobs and these industries. Not saying pollution is right, but there was some sort of agreement between the two. That is very different today, and I would love if industries like TAMCO would report how many of their workers actually come from those communities. Those are things that would be great to know when you talk about local jobs. So I want to switch gears a little bit for you all. We just analyze a lot of ways, from the city to the businesses to how you work in community, that makes this hard. What makes you all so vigilant and strong to keep moving this fight? Because most of y'all are doing this volunteer, or at one point did it volunteer, and have other things to do. So what keeps you engaged in this fight? Anybody can answer that.
Like I said, it was my daughter that got me involved in the first place. But if you've ever come to Joppy on a Sunday evening and you just walk around, the babies are outside. They're playing, they're riding bikes, they're riding four-wheelers, they're throwing balls at each other, whatever it is. The babies are outside and they're breathing this air. And this is their every day. And so if we're fighting right now, we're fighting for these babies to live a pure quality of life. Like we're thinking about the quality of life and their life expectancy. And it's about the babies. Like, yes, the older generations have been suffering, but we are trying to build a community that literally uplifts our future by cleaning this air for the children. And so that's what keeps me going. Like, how many children actually live in Joppy? If you just look on the streets, how many children actually live in that community? It's ridiculous how many of them are outside breathing this air. So that's what keeps me motivated, because this community will transfer over to them. And if it's still TAMCO polluting them, what are they picking up on?
I'm pretty much the same. I think I said it in other occasions that we're just passing through, you know. We're leaving our homes and everything to, you know, to the younger generations. If we don't survive, I guess, to see the change, at least they will, you know, and probably that'll, I guess, make their fight stronger, and seeing, I guess, if they see change, I guess they'll be able to say, you know, then it is worth fighting.
Yeah, for me, it's a little deeper. I think it's a calling. I think I was tied to it by my circumstance, because when I found Joppy, I needed what Joppy had to offer for me, and to know the history, and me being a descendant of enslaved individuals through America, that I had to not only liberate my people, but help all the other people who are being put in the same situation. The trap that was meant for my people now is falling on many different groups of people by our programs here in the United States of America that we deem that are there to help people. One being Habitat for Humanity. You know, Habitat for Humanity is not worried about if TAMCO is polluting our community, or what the citizens are saying that they have been dealing with. They're just coming over billing, and when you get into their process, you can see that they have a wall up, a man-made wall up, where they shouldn't be concerned with that. And so even though people are getting new homes and they're coming to our community, they're coming from all over the world and they're getting a new home, but to be set up for death. And some of the deaths we've been hearing going through the community has been horrible death, throat cancer, you know, esophagus cancer. You know, it has some horrible symptoms, but we're seeing a lot of people going through this, not only residents that's been there for generations, but we're seeing new people catching disease, catching cancer. Yeah. So that's what gives me the strength to keep pushing forward. Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you.
What gives me strength is them. That's it. The deal that we are living with in the United States today, as we are here right now, 965,000 people in Washington, D.C. don't have clean water. And we have a community in Joppy that doesn't have clean air. but they all have one thing in common. These are communities of color. Black and brown, primarily black and brown people are being affected by the system we have today. And this is what keeps me going, because it's a corrupt system that a 5-year-old can't play ball in their front yard without wearing a mask. That's what keeps me going.
Wow, that was some powerful words. Well, let's give it a hand clap for our panelists real quick. Hand clap for our panelists. We're gonna come back around at the end and do just some last remarks so people know who y'all are, where to find you and everything. Is there any questions? Anybody out there with something burning on their mind that we can say real quick to our panelists before we get out of here today? Okay. Well, what we want to do to wrap up, tell them where they can find you at, where they can find more about the work, where they can find more information about you, and then also one vision or one hope that you have to see in Joppy and areas like Joppy. So we're gonna start on the end and come down this way. Mr. Davis.
Okay, awesome. One of my hopes, I start with my hope for Joppy. What I want to see for Joppy is unity. I want to see the community preserve the history of Joppy, visible. You know, when you pull in Joppy, you know where you're at. You're in a Freedman town. Definitely. You know, it's refuge here. I want to see that, the pictures I get to see of how the community interacted with each other back in the early 1900s. See everybody's helping everyone, gardens everywhere, people bartering. You know, I want to see that again for Joppy, for the world, for the United States of America. One of the things was that was two questions or just one?
And the second question was, if they want more information about the work you're doing, the things you're saying, where can they find you at?
Oh, you can find me right at Justice for Joppa. We have a Facebook page. We have meetings twice a month in the community. Click that link, and our dates will be on there when we have our meetings. And please come out. We would love to have you. You don't have to be in Joppy to be a part of our meetings, because this is not only happening in Joppy. It's happening all over Dallas, all over Texas, all over the United States of America, and we need you.
Well, I would like to see, obviously, Temco leave. That's my biggest thing, and see Joppy thrive. You know, it's a beautiful community. I love living there, and that's what I just want to see. You know, and the same. What is it? Justice for Joppy.
Justice for Joppa.
That's on Instagram, and you didn't give your what is it? Your TikTok.
Oh, One Voice Unity. Yes.
There you go.
Thank you.
And I do have the link, I guess, for Justice for Joppy on my Instagram, which is at Aguilandi, which is AGGILANDI.
Definitely. Thank you.
I would say don't look for me. Come to Joppy so I can put you to work. I love putting people to work. I need canvassers. I always need canvassers. Again, we are outside doing the work. We're on the panel now, but we are outside talking to people. We're outside getting them outside of their homes in community meetings. But what I hope for is, because this is a Freedman town, this is a deep ancestral work that we're doing here, and it is a lot of retribution that we're trying to bring to the people there and to the spirits that still live there. This is a home for people that were slaves and that made this home their own with the worst of the worst. And so what I hope for the community as a whole is that now we're free. I want us to be sovereign. And so I hope that is my hope, that we can build a sovereign community where we can rely on each other. Because if you are in a community with people, I guarantee you probably have everything you need. You have a nurse, you have a doctor, you have a mechanic, you have a teacher. And so I hope that we are united enough to where I can make a call. Hey, my car not working. The mechanic around the corner gonna pull up and help me with my car. So I hope that we become sovereign and that we don't rely on these systems that are built to oppress us. And yeah, don't look for me, come to Joppy so I can put you to work.
I've been to Joppy, and you put me to work.
I will put you to work. I will put you to work.
And what I want for Joppy is I want Joppy to thrive. And that is the reason why we're here, to make sure that other people who did not know can come to Joppy and help make it thrive. As far as where you can find me, it's all over social media. I'm the president of the Dallas County Justice Initiative. So we will be back in Joppy. We will continue to work with Joppy. On social media, you can find me on Facebook and YouTube. Subscribe to that channels as well. And also Instagram, Ed Gray 1906. I have to put that in there.
Definitely, no, gotta let them know. Gotta let them know. And for Downwinders, you can find us at downwindersAtRisk.org. You can find us all over Instagram and Facebook. And I just wanna say, for anybody in the communities, I hope you got to see this. It's not just about the work we do, it's about the motivation and the movement we're building to break through some of these issues. So if you have polluters in your backyard, you got polluters, who don't want to go, who don't want to listen to the community, call us, text us. Find us on Instagram or Facebook and DM us. Let us know, because if we can break through in one area, we can change the city of Dallas and how it does business, and not just the city of Dallas, the state, because people are looking, people need the hope that these things can break free. That's what Downwinders hopes to bring forth. That's what all these great people here are working to do. So if you see us and you see us out, please know we're being active, so we want you to be as well. So last hand clap for our panelists and for everybody here. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of Black History Month, everybody.